Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, kid.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello, and welcome to Dennis versus the Movies with your host, Dennis Lang.
And I'm Mary Jones. Yeah, I don't feel good about this at all. Ugh.
This is the podcast in which we, I, Dennis
Stop
Lang,
being friends and start getting real.
start getting real. And I find and destroy every copy of whatever movie we choose to.
Wait a minute. Okay, David Zaslav, chill out.
It's versus the movies.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a new podcast.
No, it is not.
New rules.
No. Wait a minute. Oh, no. Look, this is not January 6th. Sit down. Should we explain what's going on?
Oh, sure. So as the host,
God.
this podcast is now, the tables are turned on me. I'm not a good host.
No, you're not.
Anyway, so this podcast, I haven't seen this movie that Mary has seen.
Yep.
And is it an 80s movie?
Yeah, it is.
These are all 80s movies?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah. Every movie that we're going to watch for this month is from the 1980s.
Yeah. So I've seen every movie except for 4 of the 1980s, and these are the 4.
Well, I don't know that your movie watching is that extensive,
No,
but
it's not.
no, it's not. So I just wanted to change things up because every so often we'll come across a film and you'll be like, oh, I've never seen that. I'll be like, have you never seen this? And I thought to myself, hey, that would be kind of a fun month. You know, we've done horror month.
You've been threatening this since we started.
Yeah, well, because otherwise the whole thing rests on my shoulders.
I know, it's
and
great.
and my back hurts. So we're going to do 1 month of Dennis versus the Movies, where I know these films.
Yep.
I've seen them more than once. Sometimes they are foundational to my childhood. And sometimes they're not, but I still think they're fantastic. Or maybe fantastic is the wrong word in one of those cases. But anyway, so I wanted to do 4 films where I've seen them. You've never seen them. You don't entirely know what you're in for. You know what you're in for with at least one of them. So today's film is The Great Muppet Caper.
What?
How have you never seen this? I'm serious.
So wait, what year did it come out?
Like 81?
81?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, feel bad now, Den. You're only 12. You had not outgrown the Muppets.
Maybe I did see it.
No. Okay, what happens in it?
They go to New York?
No.
Okay.
That's a different movie.
Yeah. Do they take Manhattan?
No. Again,
Do they meet Scrooge?
that a completely different film.
Pirate ships?
Different one. Did you see those other ones?
I haven't seen any of them, I don't think.
You've never even seen like a Muppet Christmas Carol?
No, I haven't.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know.
Oh my
I was a
God.
bratty teenager by then. Well,
Actually,
I mean,
no.
for this one, I was 10 years old, but I don't know, I just missed it. I don't know.
Like seriously, at 10 you're not too old for the Muppets.
I saw the first one, and then this one came out. I was like, there's no Steve Martin, so why watch it?
First of all, how would you even know that Steve Martin was in the first one?
Because he
without-
was killed off in the first one. It's
Okay,
assumed.
first of all, they did not kill off Steve Martin in the Muppet movie. He's a waiter. He disappears. They don't kill him off. They don't kill off Mel Brooks.
I just
They don't kill
assume
off Carol Kane. What are you talking about?
I just assume when they're off the screen, that means they die.
Did they kill Orson Welles?
You know what? I haven't done the math, but maybe.
No.
Transformers killed him?
Actually, yeah, that's possible. So you don't know who's in this film?
No. Is this the one that has Peter Falk?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I do know, but I'm not going to say.
Because I know I don't know if this one or if it's Muppets Take Manhattan. I know I've seen the scene with Peter Falk.
And that's the only thing you've ever sought out
Yeah.
post Muppet movie. Because it's Peter Falk.
By this time, I was fully into like, serious, entertainment, like Star Blazers. They had a countdown to the end of the earth or something.
Okay, so yeah, all right, there's a good question. When you were 10 years old, what were you watching? Are you going to tell me Jabberjaw? Was it Marine Boy? Ultraman?
None of those things were on at the time.
Oh my God. So what was on in 1981?
Battlestar Galactica, The Dukes of Hazzard.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. How you feeling about that?
At least I know almost everyone my age or like around my age.
Oh, it's okay because
watch.
all of America was watching it.
Yeah. I don't know. Color's orange, and that's it.
Okay, so it's 1981. You go to the movies. You've got the Great Muppet Caper in front of you. You don't go see that. What would you go see instead? What would your parents take you to go see? 1981. And don't say The Empire Strikes Back. Wait, that's 1980. Don't say, what the heck came out in 81?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay, well, fair enough.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No, beyond Raiders of the Lost Ark. What did you go and see?
I don't know. I don't remember going to a lot of movies then. I don't know.
Did you guys even have a VCR?
No, we did not.
No.
See, that's probably the thing. Like, we were kind of late to the VCR party.
That's so sad.
And by the time we got one, like, we didn't, like, rent or anything. That wasn't until, like, the late 80s that we rented.
The
stuff.
late 80s?
Yeah.
Dennis.
Yeah, it was really more me that rented stuff than my parents. Like, I guess they just weren't, I don't know. We had cable. I just watched cable a lot.
Okay, so what is your relationship to the Muppets?
I was a big fan of the first movie, and I was a big fan of the TV show.
Uh-huh.
And watched the whole thing.
Did you see Sesame Street when you were a kid?
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you some questions then.
Okay.
Love Triangle? Think about it. Miss Piggy.
Is this the Charles Grodin one?
I can't say.
Oh. I'm going to say yes, and I'll assume this is the Charles Grodin one,
All right.
although I don't think it is.
Does anyone die?
Yeah, as soon as a human goes off the screen, they die, right?
That is not
I
how.
thought that's the rules
That is
for
not how the Muppets work,
Muppets.
Dennis. I
Yeah.
swear to God, that is not what happens.
Okay.
The Muppets are not killing people off screen.
Oh, is this a spoiler?
No, it's definitely not a spoiler.
Okay.
All right. Is there a dog?
Yeah, there's Rolf. I assume Rolf is in it.
You got me there.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, you got a point. There is always a dog.
Like, as I get older, Rolf is my favorite. So did I tell you I hadn't seen The Great Muppet Caper, or did you ask
Yeah,
her?
you told me.
I don't remember if I did or not.
The fact that you can't remember is good enough for the show. You think this might be a movie with Charles Grodin in it, but you're not sure.
Yeah, and if it is, then I'm pretty sure I didn't see it.
Well, then that's good enough for me.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on The Great Muppet Caper before we sit and watch it?
What's your favorite Muppet?
Oh, thank you for asking like existential questions at the end of the interview. Thanks a lot. My favorite Muppet. I mean, look, I don't want to go all basic and say Kermit, but I don't know. That's a hard.
Like, probably my favorite Muppet of like all Muppet kind.
All
is
Muppet kind.
Probably Grover. I'm still a Grover fan.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Grover. Oscar then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Oscar is mean and angry.
Yeah.
And I like Oscar a lot.
He's got a little bit of a Donald Duck vibe to him.
Yeah. Well, I like Donald Duck.
Yeah, you're the only person I've ever met that is a Donald Duck fan.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Donald's great.
Yeah.
Those kids deserve a licking. Huey, Dewey, and Louie, they're terrible. They should get buried into a pyramid.
I am way more a Daffy Duck fan.
Daffy, yeah,
Especially old Daffy.
Yeah,
Duck.
but that's the thing. You just want to go like woohoo and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But like Donald Duck, Donald Duck is the common man. If Goofy, look, I don't want to go off on a whole thing on this. We're not going to do this right now. But
Okay. Oscar,
Donald, find me somebody else who's upset all the time. That's my people.
All right.
All right.
Boy, I wish I were you people seeing this for the first time.
There'll be crooks and cops, there'll be villainy, but with us on call, we'll fix it all real easily. Hey, a movie! Wow, it's gonna be terrific, starring everybody.
And me.
So I hadn't seen this before, and I think the reason is that Sesame Place opened in 1980 in Philadelphia by the Oxford Valley Mall.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go, and my friends who were younger than me went, but I was apparently too old to go or something. And so I think I thought, oh, I guess I've outgrown the Muppets. So I moved on to Star Blazers. Yeah.
Oh,
Age appropriate.
that would never have occurred to me that, yeah, but you would have been, I guess, 10.
Yeah.
You are too old for the Muppets.
Oh,
I didn't know that was a thing.
I know.
We should ask our special guest whether that's a real thing at all. So tonight we have a special guest.
And the curtain raises.
You had a whole list of things.
Muppet aficionado, Marvel aficionado, puppeteer, entertainer, frequent caller to the best show, father of Penny.
Z-Man himself. Please welcome to the show, Zach Woliner.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Very good. How are you?
Good, thank you for having me.
We are so glad to have you on here.
We're bringing the big guns for the Muppets.
Zach, first of all, you are yourself a puppeteer, right?
Yeah, I mean, professionally, I've only had so many gigs, but I'm, in the midst of trying to get a business off the ground. I did a Indiegogo and finished it shortly before the world went to hell, and children's birthday parties were not a thing. I've seen some people figure out how to do it virtually and some other stuff, and obviously now things are a little more relaxed. I think they just made an announcement that like they're really being as relaxed as possible. Like, no, you test positive, just go do whatever you want. but and it's just the logistics and getting a business started from the ground up is not necessarily an easy thing. But I've got some more work to do, and hopefully we'll get it going. I kind of am following in my father's footsteps. When me and Jason, my older brother, were kids, he was doing magic shows as Amazing Alan the Magical Rabbit, and that was he was a full-time teacher, but he was doing like birthday parties on the weekends, and so I'm taking inspiration from that and my own puppet aspirations and sort of going with that, and I'm incorporating magic, some stuff I've learned from him. So it's combo Muppet. I mean, not Muppet. That's Disney would sue me. Puppet and magic show. So I'm Zany Zach the Jelly Jester. So I got a jester costume, and I'm up front, and I do some tricks, and then transition to being behind the curtain, so to speak, and doing the puppets. But yeah.
Were the Muppets something that were just like introduced to you by your parents? Was it just something like it was just, like, because they were everywhere when I was a kid, and I think I feel like you might be a couple years younger than me, but I'm not sure.
I'll be 42 in May.
The Muppets were everywhere when we were kids. There was like the Muppet Babies, but like they were still showing the Muppet Show in syndication.
I just missed the window. Born in '82, it was a little bit after the show ended its initial 5-year run, which I always wondered as I got to be like reconnected with the fandom in my adult years. It's like, how was I into it? Because it was after it aired, and we didn't have cable till like '95. So I'm like, I didn't see cable reruns. So I'm like, then I realized I think it was the compilation VHS tapes by Playhouse Video. So I think we'd rented those, and that was my exposure to clips from the Muppet Show. My mom might have been more of a chief influence with it. I think, she was very always into them. And, obviously it's from Sesame Street. I mean, you're barely alive and you're already watching Sesame Street. I don't know how young I was when I first started with that. And then, you transition and you see the Muppet Show characters in their movies, and, Fraggle Rock and all that stuff. And even in Fraggle Rock, I didn't have cable, so I didn't see it on HBO when it first aired. Even that, I think, was through VHS compilations initially, maybe seeing it at someone else's house. And then eventually they did, when DVD box sets came along, I got all of those, and I eventually watched every episode. But, it was omnipresent. The Muppets were just always there for me, always a thing. And, I liked them from the word go.
So we watched The Great Muppet Caper, and this is the one movie that, I don't know why, I don't have on DVD of like the original 3.
Jim era.
Yeah. And I don't know why I don't have that. And like for some reason I don't have the Muppet Christmas Carol. I have it on VHS. I think that's just more of my age thing, but
I've got it on DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah, I don't know why I should just like pick it up. I mean,
is there a laser disc?
Oh God.
I don't know. Maybe they did. It was 92 92 came out, I think.
Actually, 92, they might actually be a laser disc floating around somewhere. We don't even have a laser disc player. What? Why? of all the dumb formats to collect, like, I'm just waiting for the day you start like collecting 8 tracks.
Okay.
No, okay.
It's a good idea.
I was amazed that you never saw this, though. I mean, you gave your explanation, but even still, like, okay, so you were a kid and you thought, okay, I guess I'm too old, but how many adult years have you had since then to maybe revisit it? But like, you know what? I think maybe I'm not so old. They just that just really stuck with you.
I think that I would always get confused with the Muppets Take Manhattan. I just didn't see either. I don't know.
We've watched
But
the
you didn't
Muppets
see
take
Manhattan either.
Yeah, you have definitely watched. Like, I've sat on the couch and left it on television when it was like on cable or something. Why?
I don't think I have.
We were actually just starting it today.
This.
Me and my family were, but then we got to the saying goodbye song. My daughter wanted to turn it off, and then she said, "We've seen this before." I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, this is the sad part." I don't remember when I showed it to her. I thought this was the first time because we just watched Caper together not too long ago, and I'm pretty sure that was the first time for her. But apparently we watched Take Manhattan, so I guess we got it out of order at some point, but I don't remember when that was.
I mean, to be fair, there isn't an actual order to the movies. There doesn't have to be. I mean, yes,
No,
the Muppet movie comes first, but
yeah, Muppets and canon are not really a thing. They're all over the place. There's no strict. It's not like a Marvel thing where, like, you know, there's a continuity and you got to know this and that, and they would do a production and it was its own thing and that was it. So, you know.
So wait, Kermit and Fozzie aren't canonically twins?
Well, because they're not in the Muppet movie, they meet each other at El Sleazo. So
they could have been
they really treated like they always treated like they are actors playing roles in movies. I mean, in the Muppet movie, they're watching the movie that they made that we're watching. So a large portion of the movie is a movie within a movie, technically speaking. And then in this, they're talking and explaining. And, you know, his character's called Kermit the Frog, and there's Fozzie and Gonzo and Miss Piggy, but they're playing versions of themselves in a caper story. So it's its own thing.
Yeah, what I like about is the Muppets are always very meta. I mean, that's sort of one of the points of the Muppets is that they're always breaking the fourth wall. They're always sort of acknowledging their own non-reality.
Yeah, I was going to say this might be the most fourth wall breaking production, honestly. I noted a whole bunch of times that they do it, and I don't know if either of the other two movies have it as much or any other production. I mean, you get little things here and there. The Muppet Show, he talks to the camera, or like he'd blow out a candle and be like, "Think about that, folks," and stuff like that. So it's always a thing they do. But this one, it's like there's a lot of acknowledgement. This is a movie.
Yeah, like the first Muppet movie, they do a fair amount of that, but they still, when they're in like the movie within the movie, they still kind of stay within the movie.
For the most part, it's the movie. Then, he'll say, "Oh, we got the script here," but otherwise, like for the most part, they're just going through the story.
Yeah, and what I find interesting about this movie is, as you point out, this is in some sense more, I don't want to say artificial, but whereas the Muppet movie is about the Muppets as themselves as characters, this is very much them playing characters and occasionally addressing the audience as themselves. But they're also definitely playing characters who just happen to have their same names. If you think, do you know what I mean by that? Yeah. So whereas, like, if you're watching the Muppet movie, Kermit is playing Kermit, but he's Kermit the whole time in a way that it's almost like he's playing himself, whereas in the Great Muppet Caper, he's playing Kermit the Frog reporter, who is not exactly the same thing as Kermit the Frog the actor, which is a very weird thing to say, but
it's sort of a blurred line because he's very much in character. All of them are. Fozzie's his insecure self, and doesn't realize why he's not going to go on a date with his brother, and Gonzo's the weirdo as ever. I think this might be. Also, in addition to all the fourth wall breaks, this might be where the most he shows of his like daredevil crazy side. I have a list of moments there too. I don't know if we get to them at some point, but there's a bunch of them.
One thing I like in this film is, so they have Kermit and Fozzie being identical twins, which is, on the one hand, it's just like this absurd thing to do. But I also think they probably did that intentionally because they have Charles Grodin and Diana Rigg as brother and sister, and they sound nothing alike, obviously. Because
it's so funny you mentioned that, because I only just thought about this. I was talking on, a Muppet Twitter, which is, I'm fairly new to it. I have lots of social media friends through Muppet fandom who, a lot of them that I've met in real life at different events and screenings. And a lot of that's on Facebook. That's where I connect with them. But then I met a whole new bunch of, old friends who've just met, so to speak, on, the Muppet Twitter side of things. And it just came to me, and I like put it out there, like, what's the deal with Lady Holiday and Nikki Holiday? Why is he American and she's British? And like, we were trying to come up with reasons, and they said like maybe he was sent to boarding school or something because he was so troublesome and stuff. But then if the family's British, you'd think they'd put him in a British place because it's all sophisticated and stuff. So maybe the family's American and they wanted better for their daughter, so they sent her off to England. I don't know. It's an interesting question.
But I like that there's no explanation for it, just as there's no explanation for Kermit and Fozzie being
these
twins.
movies don't need that.
Oh, we do see a picture of his father though.
Well, that's true. They do.
That spoke well of you too.
The first movie is very an American movie in that it's a road trip across America, and it's about going to Hollywood and trying to become famous, and it is about that, but it's also not about that. It's this very kind of American story. What I like in this one is it kind of like leans into being like not American in a way. Aside from the fact that it's set in London, they're doing a movie that's almost like a 1930s sort of heist movie / comedy, and so
musical.
And a musical. Yeah, they're doing like Busby Berkeley
and the water ballet sequence. This whole big elaborate choreographed thing. It's such an impressive movie when you really think about what they pulled off.
I think this is probably their most impressive movie. Some of what they're pulling off with the puppets,
technically speaking.
Thank you. Technically speaking, obviously the bicycle sequence is famous at this point. There's a scene where Kermit and Miss Piggy are riding a bike through the park, but then by the end of that whole song, they have like a dozen of the Muppets on bikes, and it's great.
Like, they wanted to up the ante, that people were amazed by Kermit on a bike just in the one in Muppet movie, and now it's like, okay, well, how about this? We give you a whole bunch. And it is really impressive. And, I don't know if you ever heard or seen like behind the scenes stuff, but they talk about how some of that worked. If you look at the bikes when it's the whole group, they're a little staggered because, people can't see this, but like if one's here and the back wheel is here and there's one here with the front wheel is here, there's like a rod going between them, and they would be, that's how they're joined. And they're all being pulled. If you see at like the final wide shot, you see they're all going down a path. In the distance in the front, it's like there's some kids. Brian Henson, I think, was sort of pulling it all. In the wide shots, they're marionettes.
Mm-hmm.
In the early Piggy Kermit sequence, especially, they shift. So when it's close up, they're hand puppets. The usual. But then when it's wide and you see the full bodies, they're being operated with wires and stuff like that. So they really pulled out all the stops and use different puppetry methods to achieve it's such a great, impressive scene.
It's the two bikes circling each other that I'm still baffled by.
Yeah,
that's
that one.
It is impressive. Yeah, and it's later in the movie, but I have no idea how they got them running up the wall at the end, where they're all like one after.
Yes,
they're climbing up the. I'm sure there's something on the other side of that wall, rods or whatever, but their movements look like how you would look with the arms and legs and the elbows and knees and how they're doing it. It doesn't look like they're just like pulling them up, like, and they're just like static figures or something like that.
I saw something about that where it was a really dangerous stunt, kind of, where all the puppeteers were on these wooden blocks all being pulled up at the same time.
So they do all these amazing tricks, and what it does, God, I'm going to sound like such a moron, but when you're watching, you start to kind of forget that they're not real.
Well, that's the beauty of it.
I know.
That means they're doing a good job. You're not supposed to be thinking about that they're being operated. As adults with brains, that these are, puppets being operated by humans, but they just are so alive. Yeah, they breathe their life into it with movement and voice, and even just like subtle little movements, because you forget that for the most part, their eyes are static. They can't blink and stuff, yet they express emotion with little subtle changes in the positioning of their fingers in the heads and stuff, or the positioning of the heads. Like, Kermit, he's got a lot of range because he's essentially a sock puppet, where it's Jim's hand that controls the shape of his head.
Yeah.
Miss Piggy, she's, carved foam. So her range of emotion has to mainly come from like what Frank does with the hand, with the mouth and nose, and then where he tilts. So if you tilt the puppet's head down, they look sad, downtrodden. You have their mouth open, they look excited or happy. So, it shows the challenges of it and what pros these guys were and are. I mean, Dave Goelz is the only one still left, the last man standing from the old guard who does Gonzo and other characters. The new guys are also, very talented.
Yeah, Goelz is still working, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I know Frank Oz retired from.
Yeah, he did, like in the early 2000s was the last time he worked with like those Muppets, like Miss Piggy. I think it was like last 2002 or something. For a while he would do like once a year, a day at Sesame Street. They would have him do like a one-off character, and then even that stopped. He says, I think that he got too expensive, or that he likes to do things his own way, and sometimes people nowadays, I guess, who are running the place, they don't want to do it his way. They're going to tell him, and he doesn't want to be told how to do it, and he shouldn't be. He's he was the number 2 guy after Jim, and he formed this world so much as well, and these characters, and it kind of saddens me when I think about it, because I always have like held out hope maybe someday he'll get to work on a Muppet project again. But I mean, he's spoken ill of Disney's handling of the characters, and I don't know that they're ever gonna want to do it, because I think there's something to be made. Like, I don't know, have you ever heard of the cheapest Muppet movie ever made?
No.
That was a script that was written by Jim and Jerry Juhl, who was the longtime head writer for the Muppets, and maybe Frank. And it was supposed to be great. And it's got a great premise where like they want to make a movie, and then like Gonzo blows the whole budget on the opening scene. And as the film progresses, it looks cheaper and cheaper until like it's just like stick figure drawings at the end. And it just sounds brilliant. And, I think that there's a full script for it. And I don't know if that's what they were gonna make, where I think maybe Frank was in the negotiation stages to do that, and then the Jason Segel thing happened instead. For a long time, it felt that he was disconnected and distant from it all, and then I think, it kind of seemed to be when he got remarried, his wife Victoria kind of pulled him back in that world. She encouraged him to make the documentary Muppet Guys Talking. Do you know about that?
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
It's she pushed him and said, you get together with some of these guys and just talk, and we'll film it. And so it's him, Dave Goelz, Jerry Nelson, Fran Brill, and Bill Beretta, who's one of the newer guys, who I thought his inclusion was kind of odd, because I thought it would more be old guard. I'm not sure why Steve Whitmire wasn't involved. I don't know if it was like a scheduling thing or something I heard. But even still, Bill's great, and he's been around long enough. They talk, and it's just great stuff. And I contributed to, like, I guess it was maybe crowdfunding. And I got a hard copy of it on DVD, and they had it on the website. I don't know if it's still available on the website, but it's just great seeing them just talk. And they talked for hours, apparently. I don't know how much was on the cutting room floor. That would probably be great to be seen. She kind of brought him back to the fold, and he found real happiness with Victoria, and he was more open to being a part of things. And he joined Twitter. For me, Twitter, I had an account in like 2007 when Human Giant was on the air. Do you know that?
Yeah.
So that was, my older brother Jason and Paul Scheer, Rob Hubel, and Aziz Ansari before they all blew up on MTV. And MTV had them like live tweeting an MTV Movie Awards or something. So I joined up just to follow them.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I never tweeted on my main account. Eventually, with the best show in my puppet character, Wally Wackerman, I had him on Twitter for a while, but I still, my personal account never did. Frank Oz joined Twitter. And then I started so I was talking to him and stuff. And so I've had a few, online interactions with him, and there were like a few live streams. There's an exclusive, like, private Facebook group of the people from the Muppet Guys Talking. And, they did a few live streams, Q&As and stuff. So I was able to watch those live. And it's actually a thriving, just Muppet fan community now. We've all, connected that way. And even though it's years down the road, it's just a nice Muppet friend group on there.
So let's talk a little bit about what happens in the movie. This is more a straight movie, unlike the Muppet movie. This is a comedy musical heist film. set in London. The Muppet Show was actually filmed in the UK.
Yes.
It was for what? Lou Grade's
Yep,
production company?
Lord Grade, yeah. Lou
Yeah.
Grade.
So they were already like living and working over there for like, I don't know, 5 years at least.
So it's set in London, and about like 1 out of 5 people have a English accent, and Peter Falk is just wandering around.
Yeah. And he literally is, he's just listed as a tramp.
Yeah.
In fact, he's not even
He's not even
in the
credited.
credits. I
I
don't
was
you
gonna
know
say some of the cameos. I don't think John Cleese's cameo credited.
No, he is credited.
He is?
Yes.
And
but
Peter Ustinov.
Peter Ustinov is also credited.
Very
But
brief cameo.
Yeah.
yeah. The film opens with a big musical number because, of course, and in the musical number, while we're being introduced to Kermit and Fozzie and Gonzo, and the fact that they're reporters and all of that, going on behind them is a Juhl heist where Diana Rigg, Lady Holiday, coming out of a jewelry store, I guess.
Is that what it was supposed to be? I guess I never took notice of what the place is that she came out of.
I just assumed, I could be wrong. But anyway, she's coming out of a building and is robbed by, she does not know, her own brother,
Yeah.
played by Charles Grodin. And that just kind of sets up the whole thing. We're immediately...
Who gets a line in the song, too.
He gets a line in the song.
And me.
Yes. Explaining that, by the way, I'm the villain of the film. I love him in this.
Oh, you forgot the very, very opening, though. That's an
Mhm.
impressive scene.
What am I forgetting?
credits.
Balloon.
The credits.
Oh, the
Yeah.
balloon, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, first, what you first see is Animal doing a parody of the MGM logo, where he starts eating the scenery, and
That's
then
right.
then it reveals them in the balloon, Gonzo, Fozzie, and Kermit. And I've seen like some behind the scenes stuff of how that was filmed. It's pretty crazy. Like they had, I guess, like a helicopter, and then the guys, and then I think again certain shots, it wasn't really them. I guess like maybe the close up shots, obviously it's them in the thing doing the puppetry, but then the wide shots, something else.
Because they are in an actual like hot air balloon, right?
And Fozzie caught fire?
Yeah.
I read.
Oh, I might have heard
Yeah.
that. I don't remember.
Yeah. In the credits, there's somebody credited as...
Excuse me.
In the credits, there's someone credited as the like Muppet Doctor. And
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Amy
She had
Van Gilder.
Yeah.
She is the woman with Jim in his cameo in the Dubonnet Club.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She was like one of the first hires of the New York workshop when the Muppet Show started.
Oh.
I did a little research there.
Well, apparently she had to patch Fozzie back together after he caught fire in the
Wow.
balloon sequence. Yeah.
It's funny. I was just discussing on I think Twitter with someone about how I can't believe sometimes what they did with the puppets that like I would never do with my puppet. Like I wouldn't even take the chance because do you know the Wilkins and Wontkins old coffee commercials?
Yeah, the
Yes.
violent one. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, they all basically end up with either threats or acts of violence from Wilkins to Wontkins, because Wontkins refuses to drink Wilkins coffee unless he's convinced into it by threats. But there's one where like he's set on fire. Wontkins is set on fire, and I read and they said, oh well, they had a bucket of water ready and it was on some sort of thing on top of him. But I wouldn't even chance it because there's a risk the puppet's going to get burned. And like me and Wally, like I only have one Wally. I mean, I'm sure with some of these they have backups and whatever, but like I wouldn't even dare do something remotely near. If there's a chance he can catch on fire, it's not in the cards. I'm not doing it. But I think people have said Jim even wasn't very precious about the puppets. When it was time to they throw it over on the floor. Wally lives in a purple laundry bag for a reason, because if he's just out, if there's dust and trying to get that out of his fleece, something happens to it. I just have him. That's his little environment to hide in, and from the elements, so to speak.
How many Kermits are there? How many Fozzies are there?
Well, we know there's at least 4 because there's that one Talking Heads that they do once in a lifetime.
Oh, that's
On
actually,
Muppets Tonight.
Yeah.
And there's like 3 Kermits in the background and one in
They're all in the
Venice-
same shot, or is it just like
I think
duplicated video?
they're in the same shot.
Really?
So like later you see them walk by, like 3 of them walk by. At
Are you-
least. Yeah.
No, that's gotta be a trick thing because they're imitating the original video.
Yeah, but I mean, like after like the video, you see the 3 of them walk by, like 3 identical puppets.
I don't know if I can
Oh,
handle
sort of
the
like
idea.
like a backstage bit, like after
Yeah.
after a Muppet Show opening number where he's like, "Oh, great
Mhm.
job," and all the characters kind of walk by.
Yeah, I saw it on some video.
I don't know that I could handle there being four actual Kermits out there. That doesn't sound right.
Believe it or not, I've actually seen very little Muppets Tonight. I've seen that clip online, but I guess it was, in between when I was, a kid and into Muppets and when I was adult and rediscovered like my true hardcore fandom and got into them even more than had I previously been. It was just this thing on TGIF, and I wasn't like hardcore at the time, and I didn't make it like appointment television. And now that is still not on Disney Plus, and there's just, well, I mean, I know I get the legal red tape, and that's what kept, the other box sets of the seasons and stuff with the songs and the guest stars. But there's other stuff that Disney could put on like that. Like, I don't get at all how immediately after buying them in 2004, they didn't release on DVD The Muppets at Walt Disney World. That's perfect brand synergy. There's no outside licensed music. It's got just a couple of guest stars, one of which is Charles Grodin in his second Muppet role. And that would have made a killing at the time, or just now. Even there's not too late. Put it on Disney Plus. Why not? What's the holdup?
I don't. It's weird. You can find it on YouTube, but I don't understand why they won't put it on Disney Plus.
Give us a high quality version, and it's
so in the film. They get hired by the paper. Of course, to them, the big news is that identical twins have been hired by the newspaper. And, when I think about the state of newspapers now, it's an even funnier and also sad joke. Obviously, like the real news is that there have been like these Juhl heists and whatnot. And so they're assigned to go over to the UK to cover it. And
first they're fired.
Well, yes.
And then Kermit says, well, if we're fired, it'll be a short movie.
Yeah, again, that's one of the instances of that. Here, I'll go over the ones I noticed. So the fourth wall breaks I put up is when they're reading the credits. They're aware of
what's a BSc.
Yes, I looked up British Society of Cinematographers. And then he's like, what a fantastic beginning, Gonzo says. Then they do a whole song about it being a movie. Hey, a movie. It's so great. And I love the upbeat, jovial spirit of it. Like, Gonzo is trying to get pictures of chickens because that's Gonzo, and he goes, Kermit, I got a great picture of the chicken, and Kermit's like, oh good, like why are you happy about that? There's a picture of a chicken. That's less newsworthy than twins joining the paper. Kermit goes, I wish I were you people seeing this for the first time. So yeah, you that was for you this time, but for
that
me,
was just for me.
I laugh. I'm like, oh Kermit, if you only knew. That's me.
They go over to London and to cover the Juhl heists.
Unfortunately, the plane doesn't land in London.
No, they're thrown out of steerage.
Ninth class.
Oh yeah. I think I'm not certain of it. I think this may be the first time that Gonzo is referred to as a whatever.
Yeah, I think
their boxes are bear, frog, and whatever, and that's kind of what set the standard for him. They would call him a weirdo or a whatever. Then there's Muppets from Space, which is its own thing, which I actually was at an event in 2007 on Long Island, and Dave Goelz was there, and he had Gonzo with him, and I got to talk to him.
Oh, wow.
And I asked about something, or no, someone else asked about, I think, how have you heard from your alien brethren lately? And that's where Gonzo's like, well, the thing you got to see is the difference between real life and a movie, and that was a movie. I think the performers weren't necessarily thrilled at the time with how that movie ended up turning, where he's an alien and there's all these aliens that look like him. But I think in that appearance he did say, well, yes, I am an alien, but it's not exactly how it happened or something. So
that's another example though of where there's the Muppets exist as Muppets, but as actors as well. And I just find that kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah.
They're over in the UK and they're trying to cover this Juhl heist at the same time. Miss Piggy is trying to make her way into the world of modeling. And so that's how her character is introduced. She gets hired as the receptionist at Lady Holiday's House of Fashion. And Nikki sees in her the perfect patsy for the crimes. But then, twist of fate, of course, he falls in love with her. And what I love is Charles Grodin. God, he was so funny. He just committed to this, and
he's so good in this.
What I love is he, so often you have people playing off the Muppets, and they're just playing off of like characters. what he's actually doing is he's actually like he's acting like he's taking the role seriously, but it's very funny. I don't know how to really explain it, but like there's just something he's doing here that is something you don't usually see actually, like in Muppet movies, which I don't know why, but he's just so committed to this insane, role. And I love it. I mean, this is a guy who, no matter what kind of film he was in, I just never saw him not commit, whether, you're watching the Great Muppet Caper or Midnight Run or God help me, Clifford.
Yeah.
He's bringing the same amount of energy to all of them. Hey, I'll even say what Beethoven. But he wasn't a slouch. I really love him in this. He just goes all in.
Seems more gleeful in this one than
Yeah.
most.
It's funny. It reminds me of speaking, we know each other from being part of the fandom of The Best Show with Tom Sharp. Like, I remember when he was talking about like Pacino. It's like reads The Godfather, and he's like, "All right, I'm going to give this 100%." Then he gets the Jack and Jill script. "All right, I'm going to give this 100%."
and yeah, he really did. I don't know why, but he did. Yeah. It is not dissimilar, but I love Charles Grodin. This is just very funny. He's just he's all in, and I don't know. I think he's like one of the best things. And to be fair, Diana Rigg is great in this also.
Yeah.
She is also having, it looks like, a good time.
As great as their performance are, this is them serving the Muppets. It's like that was the thing back then. Humans were either brief cameos of, oh hey, I know that guy, or they were supportive roles, unlike 2011's The Muppets with Jason Segel, Amy Adams, also in tiny letters featuring the Muppets.
Yeah. It's a very weird reversal that they did with that.
Humans can be put to good use, to great use in Muppet projects if they're used in the right way as supporting characters and cameos.
And they really are used right here. I think that's kind of what surprises me with watching this movie again as an adult, because it's been a long time since I've seen The Great Muppet Caper, and just seeing like just how well, not only are humans kind of like playing off of the Muppets, but how well they're able to make like an actual movie that isn't like, here's how the Muppets all met. Look, here's the thing. I love the Muppet movie. I've seen the Muppet movie. I don't know, probably 24 times. I couldn't tell you how often I've seen it. I mean, yeah. And like, the soundtrack is, etched into, it's Paul Williams. I mean, it's amazing. So, I can't even like watch that as a movie anymore because it's too much like ingrained. It's a bit like watching The Wizard of Oz for me now, where it's the same sort of thing. This was like a movie I watched every Saturday when I was a child, type of thing. So, but The Great Muppet Caper, like I saw it as a kid and I really liked it, but for whatever reason, I just didn't watch it with the same, like rewatching it over and over again the same way. And it was interesting watching it now as an adult and being like, this might actually be a better constructed movie than the Muppet movie in terms of like having a story and a plot and everything.
I think a lot of people view it as the best one. I mean, for me, it's hard to say better than the original because I think it just is so perfect.
Yeah.
And it tells the story, and it's almost like a parallel to the story of the actual Muppets and the performers and their roles and how they got together, this crazy group. Because I mean, they really are. I mean, whenever you're performing a puppet, you put some of yourself into that character, just like I guess any actor. But even for me, my point of view with the puppets, there's going to be some of you in there, and that comes across there, and it's just so powerful and so moving that it just stands alone. And I don't think you can beat the original. So some people say this is better, and I get where they're coming from. Maybe this, like you say, it's a better constructed as purely a movie onto itself.
Yeah.
Maybe it's funnier. I don't know. Maybe it's arguably funnier than the Muppet movie. It's hard. They're so good.
Yeah.
All three of the original Jim Henson era movies are so good. Ranking is not easy to do. Like in general, ranking all of the Muppet movies, it's hard for me to do. I mean, I know one's maybe I haven't seen it. Like Muppet Treasure Island is the one I've seen the least, I think.
I think I've only seen that once or twice, actually.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's tied with From Space, but I just also I didn't see it theatrically, so I don't have that strong connection that some of my friends do. But when I watch it, I enjoy it. There's some great songs in that. Tim Curry is a blast.
I mean, look, it's Tim Curry.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter
Yeah.
how bad the movie is, I'm still gonna watch it because it's got Tim Curry.
And yeah, he like you say with Charles Grodin, he goes all in.
Yes.
And just like Michael Caine, when they said, I think there's like an interview quote with him where it's like, I'm going to play this as if it was like I was in Shakespeare or something.
And he does. I mean, Michael Caine is so good as Scrooge, and he's not. You never get the sense that he's not taking the role seriously, and just the fact that he's doing it around a bunch of Muppets. They pull off something kind of weird there that is surprising. That look, I've read A Christmas Carol many, many times. I like Charles Dickens. I read a lot of Charles Dickens. So it's. What's interesting to me, like now we're talking about a different movie, but I do find it interesting, like that they took A Christmas Carol and they actually treat that material really reverently while still being the Muppets.
Yeah, a lot of it's direct quotes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So as far as an adaptation goes, there's a lot of faithfulness there. It's interesting. I recently saw on TikTok there was a guy. I guess he's a huge Christmas Carol fan. He was like ranking the best and worst adaptations, and he put this one fairly up there. He didn't give it number one, but it was pretty high up there.
It is. It actually, I've watched a lot of different versions of A Christmas Carol, and it does rank really high, and it does follow the text really, really closely.
You should find that TikTok.
I probably should.
Also, see if I could pass it along your way if I could find it.
So like we said, it's a heist caper, and so you have Miss Piggy is being kind of seduced and framed by Charles Grodin, and at the same point she's in love with Kermit, and so you've got a love triangle. So as we said in our pre-show, yes, there is a love triangle.
There's a dog, there's a love triangle.
There is a dog.
No one dies.
No one dies because it is the Muppets. Unlike on the Muppet Show, we watched a couple episodes before getting on here, and like there was a body count in one of them.
Yeah.
Liza Minnelli.
No, John Cleese, I guess it was.
John Cleese's agent gets eaten.
Yes.
Well, yeah, a lot of times they would blow someone up or eat someone. The monsters. That was kind of a Muppet ongoing thing.
No,
wait, did Liza Minnelli get killed on the Muppet Show?
She doesn't get killed, but it's a murder mystery. The episode. That's the whole theme.
Oh.
Check that one out.
Yeah, so I'll have to go and watch that. Yeah, because like I've dipped in and out of watching episodes here and there since it went on to Disney Plus.
Oh, we also saw Roger Moore blow some Muppets away as well.
Yes, with lasers.
He's doing the whole, James Bond thing.
Yeah. It all leads up to essentially them foiling a heist being run by Nikki, Charles Grodin, and it all ends up
three model assistants, Carla, Marla, and Darla.
Yeah. And obviously it all ends happily ever after. He gets caught, and I guess they all end up going back to the U.S.
Yeah,
which is interesting because the only ones who came from there that we know of are Kermit, Fozzie, and Gonzo.
Right?
Everyone else was holed up in the Happiness Hotel. When the things fall, everyone decides, I guess we'll go back to the U.S. with them. Like, are they from the U.S.? Is that where they came from, or they just go like, let's follow these guys, see what it's like?
Yeah, it is sort of a weird ending. Like exactly, it's like, wait, why is Miss Piggy like abandoning like a burgeoning career? And I don't know. But
don't think too hard about it. It's fun. It's happy. It's
exactly
one thing I realized this time. Again, even now, I've seen these movies so many times. I was picking out new things. In the end, you never see Lady Holiday's reaction to learning that it was her brother, or she never confronts him. She's just not in the picture at that point. So like we don't know what happened between them after a time.
It's funny, like I didn't even think about that until after the film had ended, and I went, wait a minute. Did this film actually resolve? I guess not really.
I do like her line, like, I feel like thieves are breathing down my neck.
And he's like, thieves are breathing, as he literally is breathing down my neck. It's great. You pick up little things. Again, like she says, like she's going on the whole, when Piggy first gets the job, she's going on a whole thing talking about how Tellerbo brothers, and she says, and his bow ties are always crooked. And you watch it the first time you see him, it's crooked. Later on, he's backstage, he's adjusting the bow ties. Like there's little things. And another thing, I don't think I ever noticed this before. It's a payoff that like I don't think I ever noticed it until I just rewatched it now. In the beginning with the hot air balloon, Gonzo's being Gonzo, and he's like, I wonder if we could do it without the balloon. and Kermit's like, what, plummeting? He's like, yeah. It's like, well, I guess you could try once. In the ending, they're tossed out of the plane with parachutes. They're all doing that. We had comedy, we had mystery, and they're all like just floating there together. Gonzo Point zooms past the screen, and his thing is not inflated. He just zooms, so he got his chance to plummet. Later on, though, you see it inflated, and he zooms back up. But he got his chance to plummet. It was paid off, and I never caught that before.
I did not catch that at all. Thank you for pointing that out. That's wonderful.
Yeah, rewatch it. There's so much great stuff in this movie. It's just
so you mentioned there was a mystery voice that was dubbed in for the great singing scene.
Yes.
Yeah, Nikki Holiday's singing voice in Piggy's fantasy.
Yeah. So are there any other mysteries that you know of that fandom has solved recently, or that are still lingering, or of this movie at least?
Something that came to my mind recently, I'm like, is what came of the model actresses? Because I looked them up on IMDb. Most of them don't have much after this.
Okay.
And I mean, I put it out there on Twitter, and someone pointed out one of them on a podcast appearance, and were telling me what another one opened some shop, because they all three were models. They were actual models, and then did acting as well. So it was interesting to have someone put that, because I was trying to Google it. And, let me re-say that. Yeah. I was trying to Google. Let me just
go ahead.
Because I was trying to Google it, and I was coming up kind of late. It was, most things were taking me to stuff about Great Muppet Caper. But yeah, some people on Muppet Twitter, they came through for some of it, and they had some explanations there. So sometimes you find out these things, and the hive mind can be a great thing.
So this is a movie with some pretty good cameos in it.
Mm-hmm.
That I rather liked. I mean, we briefly brought up John Cleese, and I do like that little sequence actually with him and
Joan Sanderson.
Thank you, Joan Sanderson.
I had to look her up, because obviously it's John Cleese and an old British woman I didn't know, and then I found out on IMDb she was a part of his show Faulty Towers. So I guess they had that's what the connection is there, that they had established rapport.
And they're doing a very elderly British, very understated.
Dry.
Yeah. Which is great. I love, but I also find very funny. Like John Cleese was only like 40 or something at the time. Like he's wearing a lot of powder in his hair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of found it funny, but yeah, it's
very
Cleese.
funny.
Yeah. He's great in it. I mean, look, I love Monty Python and all of that. And whatever he is now.
I was going to say,
anything like from Fish Called Wanda backwards is to me, gold.
Yeah.
So and he's great in this. It's a great little scene. I especially love when he catches them in the closet and he just kind of he doesn't really know what to do with them.
I noted he's like, he handles it very well. Like he's just like, oh, can I help you with something? Like these people are breaking into your house, and then like you're giving him a recommendation of a club to go to.
Yeah, it's a really nicely written scene. I really like that scene a lot.
And then he calls him a lizard.
Yeah.
I was thinking that sort of predates the tea lizard meme. That Kermit drinking the tea.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's none of my business. Yeah. People would call, I think, because someone mistakenly on a news report or something called it the tea lizard. It's like, it's
that's
frog.
Right. I forgot that's where that came from. We also get a scene with actually two people from a movie called Topkapi. So part of this whole
What's that movie?
Oh, give me a second.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. So obviously, this movie is about a Juhl heist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So apparently what they're referencing is a movie from the 60s called Topkapi, right? Which is again like a Juhl heist movie. And they actually have two of the actors from that film in here. And that's where Peter Ustinov comes in.
Oh, okay.
And Robert Morley. Robert Morley is the old guy by the lake when they plummet to the from the sky. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of fun that they, kind of not just have them in there, but they're kind of tipping their cap to like what films that they're referencing actually in this. So I always thought that was kind of neat. But then we brought up, we have like this one very strange cameo from Peter Falk, which that's kind of the reason I wanted to show you the movie, Dennis, because you are a huge Columbo fan.
I am.
You love Peter Falk.
Yeah, and I'm a big Wings of Desire fan.
Yes. And
maybe it's the same character.
Well, No, so I just found it kind of like, I have no idea how he ended up in this film. I don't know, because he's not credited or anything. And it's just this weird little sequence where he starts this whole rambling story, and Kermit tells him, you got everything wrong, and then he tries to sell him a watch.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, there's a couple of jokes in this movie, but not unlike the first film where it's like you get it as an adult. I didn't get it as a child, or that there was something being implied. There's a scene at the nightclub where yes, the guy is just like, yeah, my wife's not here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
this is obviously not my wife. Yeah.
I wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goelz was like, how about a picture? He's like, no thanks, no photographs. Oh, it'll be a nice memento for you and your wife. My wife's not feeling very well. Maybe she should be home in bed. She is at home. But what's better is if you look at that scene at the Tobani Club, that guy's like a serial philanderer. He's seen with at least 3 different women.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Okay,
That's great.
Go back and pay close attention. At one point, he's dancing with a woman. Then he's at that table with that woman. Then he's with another woman later on. That guy gets around within one night in the same club.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I love though about watching Muppet films as an adult, is finding out that there are these jokes that just went right over my head as a kid.
Yeah.
I always think of the Hare Krishna joke in the first
Oh
film.
yeah,
And
it's a running gag even.
yeah. and realizing, that what that means as an adult, and just there's something to be said for, okay, the Muppets are for kids, obviously, they appeal to kids and whatnot, but
Well, they appeal to kids, but they, Jim Henson, they were never really explicitly for outside of Sesame Street. The Muppets were never directly, like, even these characters in these films, it's like kids were like a bonus. It's family entertainment, really.
Yeah.
It's because it's all ages. But I mean, you look at a lot of the stuff they did. They were doing puppet stuff on TV and movies, but it wasn't like playing directly to kids. There was stuff that was very kid friendly, but then, like you said, they're sprinkled throughout is all these jokes that go over their heads.
and I think that's something that when you brought the phrase family entertainment, and I think there is something to be said for, it's for kids in that you can watch it with your kids, but you want to have the adults be entertained as well. Like, this isn't Teletubbies.
Even with Sesame Street, even that's his most like kid-centric project, they did a lot of stuff that was meant for co-watching. They wanted to keep the parents entertained and interested, and like there's great stuff on Sesame Street. I mean, like the Ernie and Bert sketches, that's like classic comedy duo stuff. I guess I can bring this up. I've talked about this enough now. I was actually, as a kid, traumatized by a Sesame Street sketch. I brought it up once or twice on the Best Show. My older brother Jason, he talked about it on WTF with Mark Maron. So after that, it was like the cat's out of the bag. Why do I need to hide anything? But there's a sketch. Let me know if you're familiar with it. It's Ernie and Bert in an Egyptian pyramid. Do you know?
Oh, I know it very well.
That reaction, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think the most infamous scary Sesame Street sketch. There's lists online and Reddit's probably of scary stuff on Sesame Street, but I've seen plenty of other people corroborate that this one scared them. So I think at a point Jason sent me links where it was like, you're not alone, buddy, and I was like, oh, okay. But I think maybe the impact it had on me was stronger than just, oh, that was a scary sketch. But even in that, it's like an Abbott and Costello routine.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one point, Ernie is left alone in this room with these 2 statues that are Egyptian versions of Ernie and Bert. Bert's like, oh, I'm going to go explore this spooky tunnel. What do you think? Oh, I'll stay here. He's just tricking around, amusing himself. And then the Ernie one comes to life, taps him on the head and scares him. And he's like, it's literally the Abbott and Costello. He's like, the star, you talk to him. So he's doing that exact thing. It's literally copying those guys. So obviously little kids aren't going to get that. But they are going to be scarred for life if they're me. But I'm doing much better these days.
See, it's funny because I remember that sketch very well. And I don't know what this says about me. I remember watching that as a kid and just thinking, oh my God, Egypt must be amazing. I want to go hang out there.
When I rewatched it as an adult, when I revisited it, for the first time later in life, I saw it for what it was and I thought it was hilarious. And
of course.
I mean, it's awkward for me because I still see it and what scared me, and like it still gives me like a little shiver, but I appreciate it. And And I posted something about it, I think on TikTok, and someone was like, I saw it, I don't see what's so scary. But I'm thinking, you're seeing it for the first time as an adult, probably. And actually, going back to Tough Pigs, the website, they actually had a post all about breaking down why they think that scared it. And I think it was written by someone who was like into child psychology and stuff. And they're talking about, it's the situation where Ernie is scared and you're scared for him and stuff like that. And also kind of the thinking that no one's going to believe you because he's trying to tell, the statue came alive and talked to me, and Bert's like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. And just all the various things, the things that are different, it's a different version of Ernie you're not used to scaring Ernie. So it's if you could find it, it's a good read. Obviously for me it held resonance, but I think anyone could appreciate looking at breaking down why that sketch scared so many kids.
So what do you think is like maybe the thing about the movie that stands out to you the most? Like, what is there like any like particular element that you think makes is particularly strong about this movie?
Like I said, the comedy, it might be the funniest. It's just it's a fun time. It's upbeat. The music's great. It's Joe Raposo, who was known for Sesame Street. He did some of the biggest Sesame Street hits. And I wanted to bring this up. The writing, aside from Jerry Juhl, and there was someone else listed with him, but it was also co-written by Tom Patchett and Jay Tarses, and they were big in sitcoms. Tom Patchett was the co-creator of a very popular show featuring a puppet that's not a Muppet. Do you know? Do you want to guess?
God, did he create Greg the Bunny?
Alf?
No, it's 80s. Alf.
Alf!
Wow.
He co-created Alf with Paul Fusco, who is Alf. And then they co-wrote Manhattan as well with Frank Oz. So and they were big. So Tom Patchett, he also wrote on the Bob Newhart Show, Carol Burnett Show, Sandy Duncan Show, Tony Randall Show. That's 3 out of 4 were actually Muppet Show guests.
Yeah.
So he did shows for 3 Muppet Show guests. Bob Newhart never made it on. And then Joe Tarses, he worked on some other sitcoms too. So I guess they became kind of like a writing team. But Tom Patchett and Paul Fusco created the show of Alf together. Obviously, Paul Fusco had the character, but then they made the show and he wrote on that show.
Oh my God, I didn't know that there was like an Alf Muppets connection.
I wonder, I don't know if I heard somewhere, I think he probably crossed paths with Jim Henson, Paul Fusco, who did Alf. And, I'm guessing Jim Henson liked Alf. I'm sure he saw it. I'm sure he was aware of it. I would think he would like it. Again, it's the art of puppetry. It's getting mainstream exposure. And again, it's not a kids thing. It's not just, that stereotype of, it's just kids stuff.
It's funny because I watched all of Alf, and you want to talk about traumatized? I was traumatized by the end of Alf. They load him up into a truck and they take him off to like get dissected.
Yeah, it's a crazy ending.
It's an insane ending.
And then they made Project Alf down the line, which is like a TV movie where they follow up on it. But the Tanners are not in it at all.
I didn't see any of that. No,
it's like Martin Sheen is like working for the government. So it's not as strong as the sitcom itself. But
I was going to ask you who your favorite Muppet is.
Gonzo's always been my favorite. I always appreciated, as an outcast weirdo, this character like that. And I've always, gravitated towards him and Dave Goelz. I met Dave Goelz a few times now. And when the time comes, for one reason or another, for him no longer to be involved in the Muppets, I kind of question what my fandom will be like. Like, am I going to stick with it, or am I just going to be, well, I'm going to keep watching the old stuff? Because he's to me the heart and soul and the glue these days. He's still doing it. He's still Gonzo. I don't think I could ever hear another Gonzo. I mean, you could say that about anybody. People could have thought, well, you can't do the Muppets without Kermit, without Jim Henson, and then they made it work enough. And then with Frank's characters and then Jerry's, etc. But he's been keeping at it this whole time, and Gonzo's my favorite. And Gonzo, even the character, has been like the heart in certain things. Like, have you ever seen Muppets Wizard of Oz?
Yeah. Once a long time ago. He plays
first aired. I watched it. Yeah. And so he's like the tin weirdo or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a moment in there that is like the one thing I remember from that movie, the TV special, because I liked it so much. Fozzie's the cowardly lion. And there's a bridge he has to cross, and Gonzo's like, "No, here, come on, help me hear them," and he helps him across it. And that stuck out to me. Like, the special, I don't know how well it holds up. I don't know if it was so great, But that moment, I'm like, that's Muppets right there. The heart. And
Yeah, I mean,
in this, and yeah, he really, I can't speak highly enough of the character and the man behind him.
I think there's a reason they have him playing Charles Dickens in Muppet Christmas Carol. Like, there's like, I think Gonzo, I think there's something about Goelz's performance of that character and that voice that, as you say, he does kind of bring the heart to the Muppets. Yeah. And I like that he is still doing it. He's still involved. And yeah, it'll be a real bummer when he's not.
What about you guys?
I guess if you go full Muppet verse, like for me, it's still, I mean, including Sesame and all that stuff, it's Grover.
Okay.
But
of these characters,
when I was a kid, it was definitely Animal.
Uh-huh.
And as an adult, like, so looking back on this movie, I don't know, I guess Kermit, I guess.
See,
very
that's
reluctant sounding.
Yeah, that
No.
sounds so reluctant. I don't know why you sound,
I don't know, I like Beauregard a lot.
Oh, he's great. Another Dave Goelz character.
Yeah.
Then just own it. Just say it's Beauregard. That's fine.
Well, I didn't think of it until just now. I was like, oh wait, Beauregard was really cool.
I don't know
There
if
you
cool is
go.
the right word, but yes. I guess if you're going like if you're going entire Muppets, like, so, that's everything. Boy, that's tough because there's a part of me that's just like, well, I had a stuffed Ernie when I was a little kid, loved Ernie. But basically I had a stuffed Ernie and I had a stuffed Kermit when I was a little kid. Still have both of them. So
Nice.
they were always like my thing. But I swear to God, as I get older, Oscar the Grouch is kind of like
I get where this dude is coming from.
Yeah, I was watching we'll rewatch the Christmas Eve on Sesame Street every year, and Oscar the Grouch going through two walls is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
My wife and my daughter love just go, okay, rewind that, play it again.
It's so violent. Like, they're throwing that thing as hard as they can.
I love it.
Amazing.
And then he's just like, yep, let's do it again. But him just cursing out Big Bird, and you can't hear what he's saying, as the subway goes by. Like, I don't know, just Oscar the Grouch is, as an adult, my favorite. But no, as a kid, definitely it was always either Kermit or
And he
Ernie.
is in this movie.
He is in this movie, yes.
I guess that counts as your favorite Muppet Caper character.
Him showing up actually really,
Oh.
I loved it, yeah.
Well, if you had to pick one of the Muppet Show character group.
Yeah. Well, obviously of the Muppet Show. This is the old, are you a Chaos Muppet or an Order Muppet? And I'm an Order Muppet. I'm a Kermit. I'm like,
Okay, well, there you go.
let's just keep, get out my clipboard, let's keep things going and just try to, keep the craziness down.
That's a podcast host talking.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. It's the person with their eye on the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, outside of Gonzo, I think I'd put Kermit second because he's the core, he's the leader, he's Jim. And that as far as Sesame, I always think it's kind of tough for me to choose between Grover and Ernie. So, we had that in common. Grover is just great, and he's this, so lovable, furry old Grover. But Ernie is so funny, and all the stuff he does with Bert. So it's kind of funny how much I like him with how he's also involved in my personal trauma. But my first word was Ernie.
Really?
Yeah. So there's something that, goes back. I think my older brother's was Big Bird. So we both had that in common. I actually did on my YouTube channel, which I've, just sporadically used. I did a best show mashup of that scene. So Oscar goes, "You have got to be the stupidest," and then the train sound, and he's rambling, blah, blah, blah. And then it cuts back to Big Bird talking to him and the girl, and I synced up Big Bird with Tom going, "Yeah, I had to bleep all of that." Because it was just like that gag they would do with Worcester, where he'd start saying something and there'd be a long silence.
Yeah.
And you just get Tom at the end. So,
that's great.
That's fantastic. I gotta look that up.
Yeah. I'll send my YouTube. I did another one. I did a best show Muppet Show mashup too, with another line that has come up here and there. I don't know if you care. There's a few other Muppet performer cameos. I don't know if you know them all enough to have caught them. In Hey a Movie, Richard Hunt is the taxi cab driver. He's like, come on.
I saw him right away. Yes. Yeah.
And when Gonzo shouts, stop the presses, Frank Oz is in the office behind him.
I'm so mad I missed him.
He looks a little different because he's not fully bald. He doesn't have the glasses, and his hair looks a little reddish.
Okay.
But, you'll see, he's obvious when you're watching it. Jerry Nelson is in the park. Frogs, bears wear hats, and he's with his actual daughter, Christine.
Yeah.
She wanted to get into the Actors Guild, so Jim gave her a line, and she actually died very young. Sadly, she had a disease. Her mother wrote a book about living with her with this disease and everything. It's a very sad story. But Jerry Nelson's in it again on the ham radio. He's Dirty Bird.
Oh, okay.
Hey, ham hock, Dirty Bird. What's your any brown wrapper, whatever asking about cops on the road.
I did find it funny that, even it's 81, but you still have that little bit of trucker culture still going
it's still
on.
hanging on.
The 70s aren't fully gone yet,
Even in England.
Trucker culture was huge in England, of course.
I like the signs specifically for the mail are still very far away.
Yeah.
At least 2 more miles.
Actually, what that reminded me of, there's a bridge near us.
Oh my God.
The Coney Palmyra Bridge.
Yeah.
And there are signs for miles all around to this single bridge. It is not the most important bridge in the area.
It's so weird. So you'll be 50 miles away. And because I lived 50 miles away from the Tacony Palmyra Bridge sits between Tacony, which is a section of Philadelphia, and Palmyra, New Jersey. And it's just a bridge that goes over the Delaware River. But for some reason, you will find signs this way to the Tacony Palmyra Bridge from 20 miles away, 30 miles away, 50 miles away, and I don't know why.
I've always wanted to make one and take it to England or something and just put it up somewhere.
Zach, I want to thank you again for being on our podcast. This has been
so much.
Excellent.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. This was a thrill, and really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Is there anything you want to plug?
I mean, there's not much active. I mean, keep an eye out for Zany Zach birthday shows, I guess. Otherwise, you could find me on the usual places. I'm on TikTok at Zach Woliner, Twitter at Zach Woliner. My YouTube channel that I don't much use is Squeegee Man, which is SQUIGIMAN. And then Wally Wackerman is my puppet. You could look him up. I have. On the note of Muppets, I have another channel called Kerm Dubs. I don't know if you guys have heard of those or seen any of them. It's where I make meticulous editing. I make Kermit the Frog basically redub movie scenes and clips and quotes by having basically amassed a database of time-stamped lines of dialogue of Jim Henson as Kermit the Frog from every episode of the Muppet Show. I haven't actually finished transcribing every Muppet Show episode, but I'm getting there. But most of the Muppet Shows so far, tons of Sesame Street clips, all 3 movies, etc., TV specials. And so I just hit Control F. Well, I'm on a Mac, so it's Command F. And this Word document I have, and I could find any time he said a given word, and I cut it together. AI is the big thing now, and I could easily do that, but where's the fun in that? It's just the fun of putting it together and trying to find instances of making it where he matches the original line reading well. It's such a thrill and so fun and satisfying to do it. So I've done stuff, my favorite movie, Labyrinth. I've done a scene from Ghostbusters. I did a scene from The Godfather, the Peanuts movie, The Warriors, which is one of my wife's favorite movies. So I might get back to that, but either way, there's I think at least 7 right now. But you check out Kerm Dubs if you like Muppets and silly premises and crazy guys doing editing late into the night for so far a fairly small audience. But yeah, check it out, Kerm Dubs. It's a fun project, and I think that basically covers all of it.
Cool.
All right.
So, Coach, how'd I do?
So that was The Great Muppet Caper, starring Jim Henson, Frank Oz, Dave Goelz, Jerry Nelson, Richard Hunt, Charles Grodin, Diana Rigg, John Cleese, Robert Morley, Peter Ustinov, Jack Warden, Steve Whitmer, Louise Gold, Catherine Mullen, and probably other Muppet performers that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, including Carol Spinney as Oscar the Grouch.
Yay.
That made me happy.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you so much.
Wait.
What?
Peter Falk.
And Peter Falk.
Uncredited.
I don't know why he's uncredited. It's very weird.
I kept
don't
looking it up and I couldn't find anything.
I mean, it's not like he doesn't have an entire scene of just Peter Falk and Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he's not credited. But thank you for pointing that out.
Yep.
Because I was going to completely miss that he was in there. Written and directed by Tom Patchett, Jay Tarses, Jerry Juhl, and Jack Rose. Directed by Jim Henson. Once again, thank you to Zach Woliner for being our guest. That was great.
Yeah.
And
fun.
next, if we cover the Muppets again, probably we'll cover the Muppets again in a Dennis versus the movie situation.
Or Marvel.
Or Marvel. Well, I don't know if there are any 80s Marvel.
There's Howard the Duck. He said so.
Well, yeah, I'll think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. Thank you so much again for being on the show. All right. You can follow us on social media. We are Mary vs. Movies on all of your major platforms, whether that is X/Twitter or Mastodon or Blue Sky or, I don't know, Instagram or, whatever. Threads. We're on Threads.
Right.
And everything but Tumblr, where it is Mary versus the Movies, and I don't know why.
Wait, you're not changing the name for Dennis versus the movies?
No.
Oh, okay.
Look. Do I look like Mark Robinson? I'm not changing the name of the show. Come on. Oh, wow. We're doing something slightly different than what we normally do. Oh,
so we should change the name.
No. Look, I am not setting up more websites. I haven't even set up an actual website. But I'm certainly not going to start a whole new RSS feed.
All right.
I'm not. No. Get away from me. Anyway, yes, you can follow us on lots of places. And even TikTok.
Yeah, I haven't set up Dennis versus the movies sites yet. Sorry.
Yeah, that's on you. I am not playing with that.
Yeah, I don't know if I will be.
No. All right, but we are on TikTok, and you can follow us there. And Dennis just posted a new cartoon, so I'm very excited about that. We've got a lot of great feedback for that cartoon. Point is, you can follow us on social media. You can follow us on TikTok. And we even have a Patreon. That is patreon.com/MaryVSMovies, where you can support the show for $3 a month, help us to stay ad-free, and cover all of our costs like server and Zoom, which we used tonight, as you heard, and renting the movies. So, yes, if you subscribe to the Patreon, then you also get access to a second podcast, Hollywood Avalon, where we watch movies of an Arthurian theme, and we've watched anything from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade to Unidentified Flying Oddball, which, not great, to more traditional, like, Arthurian fare, like Knights of the Round Table and The Kid Who Would Be King and things like that.
And Bugs Bunny.
And Bugs Bunny cartoons, some of which are good, some of which are not good. So, yes, patreon.com/MaryVSMovies. Let's see. We are on all of the major platforms where you can rate and review the show. We are on Apple Podcasts where you can rate and review us. We are on Spotify where you can at least rate us. I don't know if you can review us, but whatever. And I think we're, pretty much anywhere and everywhere. And if we're not in your podcatcher of choice, you can go to the RSS feed and plug that in. That's at the Libsyn website. All right. Next week. All right. Actually, you know what we'll do? We'll do a little flipping of the coin.
What?
Well, I know. Now your choices, because this is still Dennis versus the movie month.
Yeah, so should you be flipping?
Oh, you're right. So, let's see. Heads, The Last Unicorn.
Okay.
Tails.
Yeah, because heads, horns.
Sure, why not? Tails. After Hours.
Okay.
I can't believe you've never seen After Hours. What? How?
I don't know. It just sounds so generic.
Oh. I can't wait to have you watch this movie. All right, so Heads, Last Unicorn, Tails, After Hours. All right. Tails. That means our next episode is going to be Martin Scorsese's After Hours.
Huh.
All right.
He's good, right?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
All right.
He's all right. He only made one of my favorite movies ever.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hugo?
Hugo's really good. Don't slander Hugo. All right.
Color of Money?
Well, that's one of the few films I haven't seen.
See?
And we
See
will
how
do.
easy it
Shut
is?
up. After Hours is far more interesting, far better known,
All right.
higher regarded than Color of Money. Oh, I don't know. Anyway. All right.
Till next time?
Yeah. Yes. Until next time.
Oh, wait.
Wait, do I have to say it?
Or I could say it.
Well, because what's the final line?
Do you want me to tell you what I was thinking?
And then should I say it?
Yeah.
All right, fine.
So until next time.
Movie stars.
There we go.